Ah, yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Monday night. That means we just got through 3 hours of WWE Monday Night Raw. And if that wasn't enough, we're going to talk all about it here. I'm not alone. I'm Jack Farmer, but I'm joined by Raj Giri and Justin LaBar. Justin, I got to say, Jax, I believe in the chat last week, said you wore a suit one time like I do. So today I decided to wear a backwards hat.
You're covering up that beautiful mop of hair you got. What are you doing?
You're burying the lead.
Yeah. Well, I let a little bit of it poke out through the front.
I don't like down dress Jack.
It just doesn't feel right.
No, if you're gonna be positive, you at least got to be glowing with your suit and your hair with volume.
I've got slacks and dress shoes on, if that makes you feel better.
Prove it.
No, but how you guys doing? How was your weekend?
It was great. My girls, their school starts back up this week, so try to get in some last summer stuff. Yeah, it was great.
It seems like kids go back to school earlier and earlier every year, but then I was thinking, I'm not in school anymore. They should just go year round. Who cares?
Exactly.
For them.
Well, I kind of remember it when I was younger. It would be like Memorial Day to Labor Day. It was kind of like summer break. And then like the week before Labor Day, you maybe go for a couple days. But yeah, it just feels earlier and earlier for sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like school gets canceled easier these days. Like you always.
That's true.
Like in our day, it was one thing, and then our parents before us were like, "Oh, you go to school." And like now, I feel like, if the wind's out of line, we're canceling school. There's a delay.
It's weird when when school does get canceled now for whatever reason. I think it's just throw back to childhood. I get excited, even though it's actually a pain in the ass for us because we got to figure out who's staying at home and how we're going to manage the day. But I still get excited with snow days.
Yeah, where I grew up in Tacoma, Washington, where it didn't snow that much, and so whenever it did, you'd always have to watch TV and just cross your fingers and hope it was just enough. And when it did cancel, it felt like it was the greatest day in the world.
Oh yeah. That jubilation when you realize your school is canceled, there's like no feeling like that.
yeah, the best ever. Yeah. Yes, we got everyone settling in and finding their seats as always. I think there's some news we want to chat about. I think there's some big stuff everyone's talking about all around the wrestling world. If you know anything about pro wrestling, there is a person that everybody seems to be talking about. It's Bill Goldberg. No, I'm joking. It's CM Punk. CM Punk, he took to his Instagram this afternoon and he fueled rumors and speculation of his pro wrestling status. He posted up the letters or the numbers 05, 11, and 21. And that gets people thinking maybe those are the years that he signed big contracts to wrestling companies. Maybe 2021 is one of those years, and maybe that's just further fuel to the fire that this Friday at Rampage, we may get him debuting in an AEW ring. Raj, you are the news guru. Do you got any big scoop for us before the big day?
No, I mean, I think CM Punk, it's not even a secret now. He made a comment during MMA commentary, something about returning to wrestling and the fighter seeming all elite. So they're having fun with it. I'm curious I wonder if they'll announce it on Wednesday. But I almost feel like if you announced it a week ahead of time, you'd probably get a ton of media outlets doing stories on it, and just be that much more publicity and maybe getting that many more lapsed fans in. So I almost wonder if it's worth it to announce it.
Well, we know that Tony Khan spoke about how TNT they weren't thrilled when Sting, his debut was very cold, a huge surprise, but there was no cashing in on any type of hype lead into it. So I think what they're doing here is it's meant to be the worst kept secret. Yeah. It's all right. We want to sell the building out. We want there to be. I mean, this could be the biggest AEW viewership ever. This potential episode of Rampage with all the speculation. That's crazy for what's going to be a brand new show that's airing at 10 o'clock Eastern time. But it's kind of like, we're going to let people know you need to tune in, and we're going to be able to say to TNT, look, we didn't, we got the number you needed to get, but you still get to have that wrestling thing of, well, we still don't know for 100%, and we also don't know what segment, where, what's he going to do. So you still have all those things you have to tune in to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's better this way. I like that little bit of doubt that makes it fun. So now if it happens, when it happens, it'll probably happen. It'll still be really fun. Now even I'm interested in Dynamite to see if they tease it, if they announce it, if something happens there. But I think this is going to be one of their biggest shows ever on Rampage. And it'll be very interesting to see how exactly the whole thing is executed. If he just walks out at the beginning of the show, if he interrupts somebody, what happens, but that arena is going to blow up once he comes out.
Well, I mean, they specifically booked that arena for Punk, because originally this Friday show was supposed to be a taped show. Like, they were supposed to tape it with Dynamite. So, they changed plans when Punk got in the fold. So it's going to be really interesting to watch and how the follow-up is. I don't think they'll be doing their biggest numbers on Friday just because of the time slot and where they're at, but I think it'll, next week's Dynamite with the follow-up, that will probably be one of their best numbers ever for that show.
Yeah, speaking of numbers, Rampage says, we'll say Combo Breaker in the chat asks, what did you guys think of Heels? I haven't seen it yet, but did you guys get a chance to see it?
I have not gotten a chance to watch it yet.
I haven't, but everybody keeps saying if you just watch it, you'll enjoy it. But if the more you like, if you're a more hardcore wrestling fan, you might pick some stuff apart. But people seem to be enjoying it overall, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure if you look at it too much like a wrestling fan, you're going to see stuff that you don't necessarily agree with. But if it's a TV show, just have fun with it.
Yeah, it kind of looks like have you guys seen that MMA movie Warrior?
Yeah.
Just the story kind of reminds me like a cross between that and The Wrestler. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I bet it's fun. I'm going to check it out. King Rail says, it rained too hard one day here in Vegas and they canceled school. I'm originally from Portland, Oregon. If it's not raining, we start to question life. Yes, that's how it was in Tacoma, too. It rains every day there. Every day it rains in Tacoma. It's always gray and rainy. That's why I'm down here in Southern California now.
Yeah, I used to live outside of Portland in Beaverton. Dealing with that could be a pain in the ass.
Beaverton, that's Nike Town, right?
I think so. I haven't been there since I was a little kid, but
I think that's where Nike is, for whatever that's worth. But
I thought Nike was in where's the University of Oregon? Eugene?
Maybe it's Eugene.
Eugene.
I don't know.
I think it's on the Oregon campus.
I don't know. How many cities are in Oregon? I thought there was only 2. But now that you mention it, yeah, maybe it is somewhere else. I was like, if it's not Portland, then it's got to be the one Nike's at. Mike says in the chat, surprise, surprise, Justin was wrong yet again about Lashley. His interview with Stone Cold was great. Lashley is on the run of his career.
What did I say about Lashley, Mike?
I thought you said it was going to be good because Stone Cold can pull things from people.
Stone Cold is like the Howard Stern of pro wrestling interviews. I mean, he really he has a way of just getting people to open up in ways that doesn't sound like they do in other interviews.
Yeah, I mean his interview with Nash, and Nash is super laid back, but I thought that was just awesome. That was fantastic, and it's funny because Nash often doesn't answer the question he's asked. He just kind of goes off on these tangents, and it's like, wait, what was the original question again? But it's if you haven't seen it, it's awesome, and I'll have to check out that Lashley one.
Well, I think Stone Cold just knows how to approach it as a legendary wrestler, so people want to talk to him too. It's as opposed to an interviewer who has. I mean, Stone Cold's one of the best, so when he's asking questions about what you did, it's probably easy for people to start gushing about what they, to this guy who's an amazing person. So, yeah, that's what I'm guessing there. Rampage, though. We got ratings for Rampage. As noted, the 1-hour Rampage premiere drew a 740,000 viewer rating with a 0.3 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. Those are like big numbers to me for a Friday night. I'm sure it's because it's the first one. It was built up. But how do you guys feel, Justin? We'll start with you. How'd you feel about? Did you watch Rampage? Did you like it? How about the overall ratings there?
Yeah. I think it's a very respectable number for the first show. And again, for a 1 hour show, it's at 10 o'clock. I mean, there was definitely a good amount of hype being put into it. It took place here in Pittsburgh. I think that's a good way to start. It's probably, like I said, I think the number will be higher. For the one in the United Center. Raj is probably right. It will probably see the bigger benefit after Rampage. So yeah, maybe you just see the appearance of Punk, but then you find out, okay, what's he have to say, what's he have to do after that on Dynamite, and then maybe that leads to, of course, the pay-per-view buy of seeing him in the ring at All Out. So they'll try to milk and get as much out of his return as possible. But I think I like the format of the show, the 1 hour show. I think it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, 1 hour shows. I was talking about 2 hour shows, and I miss Raw being 2 hours. But remember when it was 1 hour, and it really flew by. Now, and now we've got these 3 hours, which can be a real chore. But yeah, it was number 3 for the night, behind 2 NFL preseason games. And yeah, I mean, when you look at what they were doing, there was that 1 month that Dynamite was on Friday nights, and they were 460, the 500 range, and so this was quite a bit better than they ever did with Dynamite. So good first number. I think it'll be up again this week, and then we'll see where they go from there.
Yeah, I was thinking they were going to be at like 450, 500. I think maybe they'll settle in there at some point, but I thought it was a good show. I agree. I love the 1 hour shows. That's one of the reasons I love NXT UK is it's just you're in, you're out, you get a bunch of fun matches, bing, bang, boom.
It depends on what the identity of Rampage ultimately becomes. If it truly does feel like the B show, if it is just kind of like the extra spots where we put the guys and girls who we can't fit on Dynamite because we're got this huge roster, well then yeah, I think it probably will settle to something like that. But if they can really truly keep it as it's worth tuning in because there's pivotal storylines with people that are over that matter, that the advancement, then it could just try to stay closer to that 1 million mark.
Yeah, the one thing is. It's going to be taped most weeks, so the spoilers will be out, and so just in wrestling history, anytime you have a taped show versus live show, the taped show usually does end up becoming the B show. Now Tony Khan says he has no intention of that happening. He's going to keep it. He's going to have 2 A shows, so we'll have to see. But over history, we usually don't see that.
Well, you're not wrong about that, Raj, but I will argue and say that in all those years when SmackDown was taped on Tuesdays, that whenever the few times, and you can usually count them on like one hand, that they did something really big, Jack Swagger, I think, winning a world title, or, a Money in the Bank cash-in swerve.
AJ beating Jinder.
AJ, sometimes it's one of those things to where, yeah, the spoiler's out there, and then that's like, people are like, oh, well, now I need to tune in to actually, like, is that for real, or how did they do it, or let me see how it came off. So sometimes, I don't know. I think, again, if they just choose to use high-profile talent and have advancement in storylines, title changes or what have you, I think that it could have an identity. I don't know if it would be 2 A shows, but it won't be quite a throwaway.
Right.
Yeah, the big thing in pro wrestling, and we'll talk about it as we go through Raw, is you just got to make things have consequences or matter in some way. If things don't matter, there's no reason to tune in. But if it matters for whatever the reason, then I think it'll get people going.
Yeah.
But something that got people going, something that got people talking this week is Ric Flair. He cornered Andrade in his match at AAA against AAA Mega Champion Kenny Omega at Triple Mania on Friday. Wrestling Inc. exclusively reported first that Flair did it free of charge and apparently chartered a private jet to make the show at his own expense. Flair requested and was granted his WWE release earlier this month. And we have learned that there is a no non-compete agreement between Flair and WWE, so he can appear anywhere, anytime. I love this. I love seeing him at Triple Mania. I love seeing him back in Andrade. Raj, again, you are the news breaker. Tell us all about Ric Flair and how he could be anywhere at any time.
Well, he got physical too. I don't know if you saw those clips, but he's dropping the figure 4 and then delivering chops to Omega. So you could see he was like a kid in a candy store doing it, because WWE and I credit WWE too for watching out for him and not letting him get physical. But yeah, you could tell he clearly enjoyed it. So yeah, Flair. I mean, come on. I mean, he's pretty much going to end up in AEW now. How they use him, What they do with him, that's a whole nother story. They got so many legends there. You basically have the 4 horsemen there. So yeah, it'll be cool to see.
He's going to manage Cody. He's going to join everyone else is joining Cody. Justin, how do you feel about Ric Flair making the rounds outside of the WWE?
Yeah, it's what he wants to do. He still feels like he knows he's not going to go out there and be Ric Flair in an hour match, but he still feels like he can offer things in the way of, like Raj mentioned, just doing some of the easy spots that generally can be pretty low risk and that are just so synonymous with his persona. So not surprised by it. He is one of the victims of the changing of the guard that's going on and how things are being handled in WWE right now and who's handling him. He pieced out, as we've all seen, and I agree with Raj. It's inevitable he ends up at AEW. I don't. Cody's already got Arn at times, but I mean,
He's got everybody. He's got everything.
Well, but I definitely
got like 30 people when he goes to the ring.
Yeah, but I definitely could see, several guys. I mean, an MJF sort of has comparisons. Andrade, although Andrade's already had 2 managers in the span of less than 2 months, so I don't know, but there's different things that could be done for sure.
Yeah.
I think Ric Flair is he's, in my opinion, he's the GOAT. He's the best. It's kind of sad. It seems like every time he ends up getting sort of treated poorly as he leaves companies, or not. I shouldn't say treated poorly, but kind of put in goofy situations that he kind of leaves and has to sort of redeem himself a little bit. I hope that he gets that redemption here in this run.
Yeah, and I will give AEW credit for this. I mean, they were never humiliating Sting. Yeah, he'll get beat down for an angle and things like that. But remember Raw Legends Night last year where they just had Randy Orton just running down Mark Henry and Big Show, and it's just he'll just be used differently, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see where he goes and what he does. In the chat, we have Steven saying, if SmackDown moved to Wednesday, who would be hurt more and who do you think would win the night? Raj, you're a ratings guy. What do you think would happen if SmackDown moved to Wednesday?
Oh, I mean, if they're on Fox, they're winning. Yeah. If they got moved to FS1, then it's not a done deal, because when they were on FS1, the few weeks here and there where they've had to do it, they're doing like 800,000 viewers those nights. Whereas, on SmackDown, they did 2 million plus again. I think it's 5 weeks in a row. Basically every week since the fans came back, they've done over 2 million viewers. So, and plus they would gain if they not only being on Fox, but they would also gain a lot of viewers from being on a Wednesday night. I mean, we see how badly Dynamite gets hurt, when it's on a Friday. So, yeah.
Friday's like the fact that SmackDown does as good as it does is incredible on a Friday night, because that is not a good time to be on.
No, it's basically the worst night you can have. Yeah,
I wonder if they do move. I think that would hurt AEW probably more. If they move, because Fox is always going to win.
Right.
Well, and Fox is going to win, and if the move happened next week. I mean, I don't care who you love in AEW. They don't have a John Cena. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't compete with that kind of thing.
Yeah, John Cena. By the way, just random. I watched. I had John Cena versus CM Punk from 2013 when they had the match to see who would face The Rock. And man, I know it was like 10 years ago almost, but that crowd was into it. It was crazy because it's been so long since you hear those kind of crowds, and it's like, man, that was a Monday night. They did that on a Monday night, and they tore the house down. How crazy! Different times. King Rail says, if Punk shows up Friday, do you guys think that forces WWE to pull off something huge at SummerSlam? Big name angle. I would love a Cena heel turn. I kind of feel like WWE's already got their plans in place. Justin, do you think they do anything crazy to counteract CM Punk?
Whatever they're going to do on Saturday, they've had in mind before the CM Punk soon-to-be debut became so obvious. It's like, I mean, they're going to have a sold-out stadium. WWE is for SummerSlam. I'm sure they're on. Obviously, they got their money from Peacock, but I'm sure Peacock will be happy with how well the numbers are for a live SummerSlam. It's so they're gonna be fine. And then Cena heel turn now. I mean, you have Cena finally moved into the spot to where he's more predominantly cheered. He's kind of earned that respect. He's got that legend status now. You have the great heel and Roman Reigns opposite him, so there's I don't see a Cena heel turn needing to happen. So no, whatever they're gonna do, whether a Brock Lesnar returns soon, whether whatever they do, it's already in the works. It's not going to be, I don't think, a reaction to CM Punk.
Yeah, they haven't really been reactionary towards AEW recently. Obviously at first, moving NXT to Wednesdays and turning it into a 2-hour show, they were, but you don't really see that now. It's kind of like they're doing their own thing. I mean, if they were, I don't think they'd let guys like Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman go. Guys that could be difference makers for the other company. So, yeah, right now they're just kind of doing their own thing. Now, if AEW, when football season starts, if Raw ratings drop and AEW goes up, then all of a sudden, if they're close, then it might be a different story.
Yeah, but I mean, everything top of the card, WWE knows what they're building to. They're building, right. They're building on the timeline of getting The Rock back and doing a Rock and Roman Reigns. I mean, Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns are already dropping those little hints and interviews. So, I mean, like they know what they're building to there. They know whatever they have, however long they have Cena for. They know what they want with Cena. Again, I'm sure Brock, whenever they know they have Brock back, so they have their thing. They are truly focused on themselves in that respect for the top of the card.
Yeah, and Cena, he's going to be leaving again soon to film more. He's got a super busy schedule, so he'll be at the Madison Square Garden show, and then I think after that he's going to Europe to film a movie.
Yeah, he doesn't stop. So. That, and also I think Roman Reigns and John Cena is going to absolutely tear the house down. I'm excited for that. Something that tore the house down was Raw tonight. You guys ready to talk about this amazing show? Before we get into the show, though, I do want to thank everyone who's watching along on YouTube, on Twitch, wherever you're watching us live. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the comments. If you're listening to us on the podcast afterwards, thank you so much for that. Leave us a 5-star review. Leave us a like, comment, share with your friends, all that good stuff. Speaking of sharing with their friends, Randy Orton starts us off. He comes out. He's calling out Omos, and one of the best timing things I've seen in a long time. Him saying RK and then bro music hitting. Riddle wants to get back together, but AJ Styles calls Riddle a turd, and we get AJ versus Riddle in the opening match. I thought this was a fun way to start the show. It wasn't earth-shattering, but Justin, how did you feel about how we kicked Raw off tonight?
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, this is RK Bro is certainly one of the most over things that the live crowd is reacting to. And you got a very credible Randy Orton and Matt Riddle. He's one of the rare NXT to main roster, transitions that's really working, and that the main roster office, so to speak, of WWE seems to be behind and are booking him with favorable choices. So I thought this was good. It was a great setup for what's then going to happen later in the night, and then of course they're kind of having to quickly accelerate to the SummerSlam match they make. I think they probably would have wanted to make the match a little bit sooner, but obviously Orton was gone for several weeks. But at the same point, SummerSlam's already sold, so it's not like you needed to make this match official to move some more tickets. But yeah, I like that this was a very enthusiastic opening, but I knew it couldn't last.
Yeah. This was probably and the stuff at the end was probably the best part of the show, and then the rest was just repeat, up and down the show. I mean, it's funny. I put a tweet out like earlier in the show where I was like, I could see them doing, and I named 4 matches. Like Jeff Hardy versus Karrion Kross, Damian Priest versus The Miz. I said Doudrop versus Alexa, which didn't happen. And then there was one more. Mansoor versus Mason. Of course, all of them except for the Doudrop happened. It's so predictable, and it makes this job tough.
It's unfair for you to predict shows when you have last week's card right in front of you. That's like cheating. But I thought this was cool. I like that they told a little bit of a story with Omos getting the distraction that cost the match, and them doing a good job of saying, if Randy Orton was there, would this have happened this way? Kind of telling the story throughout the show. I enjoyed that. Just a little thing there. But Riddle, I still think MVP. With all due respect to MVP, I think Riddle the MVP of the show right now. Too many repeat matches. Brett Murphy asks in the chat, "Where the hell is Asuka? Is she hurt?" That's a good question. I have no idea where Asuka is.
That's probably just yeah. I don't know. I think maybe just time off. That's kind of how WWE operates. If they don't have plans for you right now, you're just not really on TV at all. So
she's not one of the 15 starters that gets to be on TV. If you're not one of if you're not in that, go enjoy catering.
Yeah.
Well, I actually thought she was going to be on for the tag team match we'll talk about later, but Jax in the chat asks, Raj, do you have a white hat? Anyways, Rampage 1 hour is great, can be used to groom storylines for Dynamite, etc., without having to pack in everything. Well, the question is, Raj, do you have a white hat?
I don't think so, actually.
I have 2 hats, and this is one of them.
They're all mine are black.
Speaking of black, I like that you mentioned that. We're all wearing black T-shirts, Raj. I don't know if you noticed, but I've got my official Manscaped shirt on, and hey, we got a wrestling ink right in the middle. That works perfectly. What a beautiful look there. Guys, support for the Wrestling Inc. podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming, champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. Exclusive, folks. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code WINC20 at manscaped.com. You could be anywhere in the world and they won't charge you a thing for it. Guys, let's admit it. We've all tried trimming. We've all had some boo-boos, we'll call it. And with Manscaped here, no more, no problem. You get this, by the way, look at this bad boy, this perfect packaging. Bam. You got this. I thought, by the way, this was a heart at first, and then I realized I was holding it upside down. That's not a heart. I will let our video viewers figure out what that's supposed to represent. But they make a good point here. I'm sitting here like looking at this, looking at all the reasons why I should be using this amazing device here, this trimmer. If you're trimming upstairs and downstairs with the same trimmer, that's just gross. What are you thinking? Do yourself a favor. Get Manscaped today, the Lawnmower 4.0. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code WINC20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And use the code WINC20. Unlock your confidence with the new Lawnmower 4.0 from Manscaped.
Yeah, and the one place you don't want to get any nicks or cuts is down there. So Manscaped, alleviates that problem. So I've been using Manscaped for years, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
you don't need to juice. You don't need to blade yourself.
No.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Look, let's just say the world is reopening, and a lot of us maybe have let things go for the past 19 months. Maybe it's time to clean up a little bit down there. If you're going to do it, though, do it right. Get Manscaped, the Lawnmower 4.0, designed specifically for that very thing. It's just something you should do. And hey, look,
I love the light too.
Yeah, the light is super helpful too. So no having to put your leg up on the van.
All right, all right, Jack, relax. We don't need a damn diagram.
I'm trying to explain how the product works. Anyways, Zuki Enigma in the chat says Jack is out here towering over wrestlers, a big guy. Zook, by the way, thanks for the shout out. I actually was at a movie premiere starring Danny Limelight, who was featured on AEW recently, and he's with United Wrestling Network and MLW now as well. So, like I said, though, man, I'm taller than him, but if we got in a ring, he would destroy me. I'm not. I have no chance against a guy like that. But let's Raj, you mentioned something. You said cuts, but then you said Nicks, and that made me think about Nikki Ash, who has a segment coming up. Segway City, baby. I love Nikki ASH, but she has this promo backstage, and I'm thinking she's starting to sound a little bit like a motivational speaker. She's like, it worked for me. It can work for you. Just use this product of believe in yourself and you'll almost be a superhero. I still love her, though, so no disparaging remarks. She just sounds like a motivational speaker. We get Rhea Ripley versus Nikki Ash, or ASH. I still don't know how I'm supposed to say that. But Charlotte comes out. And then Rhea Ripley just kind of dominates Nikki
and
ASH.
Wins.
Yeah. Raj, any feedback on Nikki not even almost winning here?
She basically lost twice tonight. And I mean, it's just, I think they feel like that's the way to build sympathy for her, is to have her get her ass kicked all the time. And, but in turn, what it does is it makes her look like less of a star, and like she doesn't fit and belong with Charlotte and Rhea and even Nia. So I don't know. I feel like it's been hurting her. But at least she is getting TV time. I mean, we just talked about Asuka. So at least she is getting TV time. She's getting used, but I don't know. She just comes across as the weak link. And in this match, she comes across like the weak link.
The Raw Women's title picture booking sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one definitely feels a little day to day. Like, what are we doing today? It doesn't feel like they have a plan. I was thinking watching this, and obviously more happens down the road, and they'll probably talk about it there too. But I was definitely thinking during this match, and especially after it ended, Nikki attacks Charlotte, and then both of them beat up Charlotte. And I was thinking, this SummerSlam is very important to Nikki ASH, and whether or not this is kind of it, or if she's around. Because I think if she wins, then that means they're fully behind her. But if she loses, I worry we may not see her on TV ever again.
I mean, I'm sure she'll be on again.
I
but I know what you mean. Like they say, I think she's going to win. To Justin's point, you see what they're doing with Sasha and Bianca, right? And hopefully that match still happens. And it just feels like two big stars, and they've both been protected, so it feels like a big match. This match, Nikki ASH versus Charlotte versus Rhea, it's kind of been done for so long already, and again, it just sucks. I'm not interested in this match at all.
It's so weird that they can't just have some other wrestler show up for Nikki to get some wins, for Rhea to get some wins, just to mix it up. It's weird how, especially the Raw Women's title, it's like they feel like the only people who can be involved are the people in the match, and they can't even mix it up in any way. It's just really strange to me. Like, it feels like they go out of their way to make it difficult.
In WWE, apparently, I mean, right now, and they've been doing this for years, if you're feuding, that means you only wrestle each other every week, as opposed to, doing interview segments and wrestling other people, but, you still have your feud. And it just makes for the show feeling redundant week after week.
Yeah, so that happened there. Moving on. Jinder gives his team a pep talk, and they're going to have a 2-on-1 match where the winner either Jinder gets to keep his guys at ringside at SummerSlam, or Drew gets to bring a sword to the ring, which, again, just every time I say this out loud seems absolutely ridiculous. Drew gets the win, and I love he puts the sword down. He's like, I'll put the sword down because I know this sword scares you, Jinder. Yeah, of course it scares him. It's a sword. Justin, looks like Jinder's gonna have to fight off a guy with a sword at SummerSlam.
This will definitely be my refill match, and I'm sorry because I like both those guys as individuals and performers, but they've lost me here, especially for something that I've said for many weeks. It's such a layup. It's such an easy, actual real story to tell. One thing I took away from this, we see Shanky. He's the taller one. He's the one who's legit over 7 foot. Shanky's in there with Drew, and I remember I'm looking at this, and Drew is, if you've never seen Drew in person, he is big. Drew's a legitimate 6'5", 6'6", and Shanky's towering over him. And then I'm watching Shanky, and I'm like, he's not doing much, but he's looking good with what he is doing. And then I'm thinking about Omos and how he's got his big spots recently, and I'm like, when was the last time WWE had this is like guys that are legitimately over 7 foot that all can actually that don't look like the shits. I'm not saying they're wrestling 5-star matches, but they're staying in their lane. And I think back to times where you might have had a Big Show who's over 7 foot who knows what he's doing, but at the same point you then had Great Khali who was the absolute shits. I'm like, they actually have guys who are over 7 foot who are like not being exploited as terrible. And then just as I say that, I'm like, well, they don't look at Shanky as a 7 foot guy they want to invest in because they let Drew Michinoku driver him and then Claymore kick him and pin him. I'm like, well, that takes all the mystique out of this 7 footer.
Right.
I believe it's a Makinoku driver when he does it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, when you have your giants, you got to kind of protect them, especially early on, because you don't want to take that genie out of the bottle right away. And it should mean something when you hit a big move on a giant and then beat them. And they beat them right off the bat. Again, this match was done, a few weeks ago, right? Or a month ago? I mean, they've been variations of this match every week. And, I think Drew kind of looks like an asshole with the sword, and I don't know. I don't think they're doing him justice with this booking.
And then I see that, then I just get pissed. I'm like, the Bollywood boys would be fine if they were still there. I know that they were small guys, but they had tons of personality. They were good guys. Everybody liked them. Like, that fit fine. They actually, if anything, the Bollywood boys makes more sense as the lackeys with Jinder as they once were because they're small, so they enhance Jinder's size. Because Jinder's no small guy. He's like 6'7".
Right.
Yeah, but he looks average standing next to those guys in height. But yeah, the Bollywood boys would be great because they would at least make it fun too. It wouldn't just be like presented as a regular match that Drew McIntyre wins, but it'd be like fun. There'd be some bits in it that'd make me laugh or whatever. But yeah, this whole thing, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of the sword. The fact that I try to imagine explaining this to someone who doesn't watch wrestling. Oh, well, they're having a match. If Drew wins, he gets to bring a sword to his match at WrestleMania or at SummerSlam. I don't. I love Drew too. I love Drew. I want him to be good. It feels like they're sponsored by Sword, and they need to find a way to get it involved in the show somehow. Right. And that's what we're doing.
This is definitely, you don't want your neighbor or your wife or anybody to come walk in the room and you have to explain this. You don't.
It is better this than the playground stuff that we'll get to later.
or if you dare to have a woman who you care to have any bit of romance with, it's better than having her have to sit through a segment called Moist TV. Because I have never found a woman that is at all in an enjoyable state when you say the word moist.
Right. Yes.
Well, I do want to say one last thing on that. I was thinking, hey, if we saw Rey Mysterio get his eye taken out, I think it's possible we might be able to see Jinder get stabbed at some point, right?
Yeah, well, they have crowds now, so they can't do their special effects.
But Danny Cochran in the chat says Jack looking like a little LaBarbarian. Tonight, Raj, Manscaped was your cue to rip the shirt off.
You know what? You can use it for your chest. It works perfectly if you keep your
prove it.
If you
and then
Jack, you look like one of those Orange Cassidy fans. Like, I'm Orange Cassidy, and you're like one of my like doppelgangers.
Yeah, I'm like the little one. Yeah, I'll get my little. So Stellar Justin Lopez says Shanky is the worst booked 7-footer in WWE history. Every time I see that guy, he's getting his A** kicked. I mean, I feel like there's worse, but I don't know if I can think of one off the top of my head. I feel like there's got to be someone who like, but maybe I think like the Wall in WCW, but he got wins.
He wasn't 7-footer.
He was up there, but Kurgan maybe. No, even him, they gave him wins early on.
Well, Giant Giant Gonzalez.
Giant Gonzalez got wins.
Yeah, but he had a match with the Undertaker, right?
Well, yeah, I guess he used. Looking back now, because this is before the Undertaker in WrestleMania was Undertaker WrestleMania. I mean, that's the closest anybody's come to beating the Undertaker at WrestleMania. I mean, he basically date rape drug.
Yeah, he almost murdered him, basically.
So you're saying Drew just might use the sword? It's in it's in the history of WWE. Someone might get killed.
Giant Silva. Yeah, they didn't really beat him either. He was just there, right? I can't remember ever even seeing a match of his, at least a singles match.
Yeah, the oddities were weird. They were odd. I don't know what more to say about it.
They came out with a Cartman doll. That's cool though.
Yeah, what a 90s show. Or what a 90s group. Like, what a slice of the late 90s.
ICP with them.
ICP doing the music.
Charlotte wants some payback tonight, so they're going to have Rhea and Nikki tag team against Charlotte in a +1. That's when I thought it was going to be Asuka, because that was the only person I could think of. But then we get Justin, your favorite part, Moist TV, a segment that basically lets them do the same things as Miz TV all over again.
See, I was really hoping, Jack. I didn't say anything to you before we started recording. I was really hoping you'd hold and you do the segue of Moist TV and the Manscaped ad. I thought you missed. I thought you missed an open door there.
I had that would have been the place.
That's what she said.
Speaking of, we have this is basically all the setup that now Miz is getting frustrated over, or Morrison's getting frustrated over Miz lying to him about being hurt. But we still get Miz versus Priest, and the story here is Morrison walks away and leaves Miz high and dry, while Priest gets a pretty dominant win here too. Raj, how'd you feel seeing The Miz taking on Damian Priest of all people?
Yeah, that's wild, huh? I mean, basically they've been feuding with each other for like the last 8 months, and it's still going. Again, Damian Priest, have him beat, somebody from developmental, have him just get a win, do something different. But instead, it's just, good God. I was half joking when I said they're probably going to do Damian Priest versus The Miz, and of course they do it. But I don't know. This was kind of where I was just like really struggling to stay awake.
Yeah. Go ahead, Justin. No, I was just gonna say that, like, this is exactly where you'd have your Kona Reeve come out and,
right,
like Priest maybe beats him and then goes on to something else, or whoever. I don't know. There's a million people they could have chosen to just come out there and do that instead. I'd be interested. How many people has Priest had a match with that wasn't The Miz or Morrison, or without them involved? I think it's been like 2.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure on Raw.
Yeah, I can't
maybe
think
Sheamus?
of who they are, but I'm guessing it's like 2. And Sheamus, I think it was part of the tag team, was it not?
Right.
Where they were still involved in some way, but.
Yeah, as far as a singles match, gosh, somebody in the chat will know.
I will say this though, while the redundancy is there, I did like to in the booking. So Priest, he wins by, with Sheamus' own commentary, he wins by mocking Sheamus, and then he does Sheamus' bro kick. It's a little odd because normally back in the day that'd be done by the heel using the babyface's finisher or whatever. Like, but I don't know. I did like the fact that, like, we have kept Sheamus and Priest for the most part pretty much apart from each other, and I always think that's really important for especially like a title match. This would be a U.S. title match, so I did think that was kind of a nice touch. That's something of an old school booking that WWE doesn't do too often anymore. Is like having the guy use whoever they're like rivaling with moveset. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I think they are like making a good effort to make Sheamus and the U.S. title seem as important as possible. And I would presume, I know we'll do predictions later, Priest wins it.
Yeah, it's got to be. I think that's gonna be one of the sneaky better matches on the show at SummerSlam. Those two, but yeah. So Van Dam, pick a hand. Raj, your adult drink of choice. Jack, get a fitted hat. LaBar wears it better. Left hand equals beautiful hair. Right hand equals Fred Durst. Pick a hand. Well, you're right. Of course, LaBar wears it better.
Oh,
But
that's his
Raj,
gimmick.
what's your drink of choice?
Is that a shot because I don't have your hair? Is that a shot, Jack?
No, you've got the fitted hat. I've got my goofy hair poking through a little bit. It doesn't fit right.
Adult drink of choice. That's I've got a few, but usually Pinot Grigio, but or a Scotch like a Macallan 12.
Yeah.
So yeah. You guys get the Van Dam pick a hand? Have you guys heard those stories?
Yeah.
No, what's the Van Dam pick a hand?
So
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Rob Van Dam, when he'd get pissed, he'd have you pick a hand, you pick it, and he'd smack you with it. And I think it was Bruce Pritchard that was telling a story that he almost used it on Vince.
Oh, that would have been a good story. It wouldn't have worked out well, I'm sure, but it would have been a good story.
Yeah.
Most good stories don't work out well. Speaking of stories that don't work out well, Doudrop and Eva Marie try to steal Lily, but Doudrop stares into the winking eyes of Lily and is terrified. And Raj, I know you paused it, rewound it, invited everybody in to show them just what the fuss was all about.
Yeah, I was saying with Justin earlier talking about a segment you don't want anyone that you know walking into. This is that one for me. I will say this: Eva Marie is a great heel. Like the backstage stuff she did with Doudrop, I thought, and when she slapped her twice, she's great because you believe her. You believe her character, and you feel sympathy for Doudrop. Now, the Alexa Bliss stuff just freaking sucks, but I think they could do some cool stuff with Eva and Doudrop down the road.
Yeah, and I will say Eva's going to get top 3, top 5 heel heat reactions at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
I was looking at the card earlier. There's a lot of matches for SummerSlam, and it's a loaded show, but it's really SmackDown heavy. Like the really big matches that I'm looking forward to mostly are on the SmackDown side.
And how ironic that it's the shorter show. They've managed to pump out more pay-per-view matches.
Yeah, because they were supposed to. I think they had an agreement with the hotels that they were going to end early, so people could go to the Pacquiao fight.
Yeah, it's this one's tough. The thing that actually bugged me the most about this, beyond the magic stuff, is that we've all been waiting for Doudrop to eventually break away from Eva Marie, and now I'm terrified she's going to be breaking away because of magic and not because she's standing up for herself. Mm-hmm. And that would bum me out so much, that if it was like Lily's controlling her now instead of her just being like, I'm sick of being told what to do. That's my big please don't make that happen.
Yeah, let's not put that out there.
Yeah. What I would like to have happen is for Doudrop to say this is a doll and then beat up Alexa
burn
Bliss.
It.
And just
take Drew's sword and just cut it up.
Well, and it can be burned right there with Elias's guitar.
Yes, absolutely. That'd be great.
That would be good. I think we'd all agree.
Bonfire amongst the characters.
Let me ask, by the way, anyone in the chat, by the way, because we talk about this all the time. If you do legitimately enjoy the Lily stuff and the magic stuff, let us know in the chat and let us know why. Like what stuff you like about it, because I am legitimately not into it, and I like a lot of things on Raw, but I don't get it. I'm not into it. King Rail says, I am getting No Way Jose vibes from Priest. You're right, Raj. It was when he didn't want to go overseas and Vince wasn't trying to give him time off.
Right, yeah, Rob Van Dam. Yeah, that was for the tribute to the troop stuff. Like, because they had said anyone that doesn't want to go, they don't have to go, but you should go. And so Rob wasn't going to go, and they were trying to get him to go. But he never actually did it, so otherwise that would have been a whole different story.
Totally disagree with the No Way Jose vibes out of Priest. Priest is, again, like Riddle, one of the few transitions from NXT to Raw or SmackDown's working well. He's a guy that's got a look. He's a bigger guy, but he can also work. He's bilingual. He handled a celebrity interaction in Bad Bunny for Mania very well. He has done so many things right by the office criteria. He's going to be U.S. champion by the time SummerSlam's over with.
He's good. I just think they don't always give him the best lines. Like a lot of the stuff they script for him is pretty bad, but
it's bad, but he's still, I think he's just cool. I think he's someone that, the opposite of what we say when someone walks in and sees you're watching it. I think he's cool. Like if someone's like, oh, like if you saw him doing something and someone walked in, you'd be like, oh yeah, this is Damian Priest. He's a rock star. And people are like, oh yeah, I get it. Like, so I like him. I think he's got a higher ceiling than No Way Jose does. But Miz and Morrison backstage, they're friends again. And New Day looks like they're trying to sell merch backstage, which, hey, can't knock the hustle. But we also get Mace and Mansoor. Mustafa helps Mansoor get the win, and it looks like it's just a good time to be in a tag team with someone who you don't necessarily get along with.
Here was the thing: the commentary mentioned it, but it didn't get over to me enough. So Mustafa Ali interferes, which then allows Mansoor to reverse the flip and get the win over Mace. And like that was the story, was Mansoor wins because Ali helps him, but Mansoor didn't realize he got helps. And then you have Ali actually saying to the camera and saying whatever, like he did it all, like trying to boost his self-esteem. So like they're still trying to be like kind of like they're still trying to be a baby face group, even though they technically cheated to win. It's still supposed to be like I'm trying to help elevate this kid, but I felt like it just didn't. It was too lost. It got buried. The commentary didn't get it over enough, or everything was too quick. I'm not sure, but I watched it. I'm like, this is weird. Face team cheats. Then the commentary mentioned. I'm like, okay, that makes sense, but it needed to be a bigger deal. I don't know. I didn't like the execution of this.
Yeah, and now we're completely at 50-50 with these guys, right? Like the Retribution team, Mason T-Bar won twice, and then Mansoor and Ali now have won twice, so we're completely 50-50 with the booking. Yeah, again, you can tell the story without them having to face Mace and T-Bar every week. You can have them face other people. But 4 weeks in a row we've had a variation of this match.
Yeah, to your point, they could be facing other people, because now I think the question is, now we eventually want to see them in it. Supposedly we're supposed to want to see them in a tag team match against each other, but I don't know, again, what are the stakes? Like if Ali and Mansoor win, okay, do they get a title shot? Like who cares? Neither of these teams feel like they're doing very good in the first place. So, if T-Bar and Mace win, do they get a title shot? Like what's
all right here?
I just don't really get it.
Here's your poll question: what's more likely to be on the SummerSlam pre-show?
Yeah,
Mason T-Bar versus Mansoor and Ali, or Karrion Kross versus Jeff Hardy? Anybody?
I'll go Karrion Kross.
All right.
I'll take the tag team.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the tag team too, only because Kross is gonna be. He would be on NXT Takeover the next day.
Right, that's right.
Yeah. But I was legit in my questioning, because I'm like, because it's gonna be something ridiculous like that's gonna get shoved on this pre-show.
Yeah.
Something that isn't going to be on the pre-show, Orton versus Omos. I thought they had a fun matchup. I thought that this was something we hadn't really seen in a while. I really enjoyed this. AJ cost Omos the match, though, by getting him DQ'd, which I actually kind of like, because it takes off the undefeated thing without us ever seeing him get beaten, per se. But he still comes off dominant and unstoppable. Riddle makes the save, and RK Bro are friends. They're shaking hands. They're hugging. It's happening. I feel like this was the biggest moment of the night. I feel like the crowd loved this, and kind of feel like this is how the show should have ended, personally. How about you guys?
Yeah, I agree. Again, I think Riddle and Orton are the best thing on the show. Omos, earlier in the night, AJ Styles won, so you figured that Randy Orton was going to get the win here, but not by pinfall. They're not going to have Omos get pinned anytime soon. So, booking-wise, it made sense. Omos has improved a lot over the last couple of months, because Omos used to look really bad in there, and now he's gotten a lot better. So, yeah, I thought this was one of the better segments of the night.
Yeah, everything they needed to do was done here. This is where having a DQ in your repertoire works, because either guy losing doesn't work right now. So like for an AEW, how they don't do DQs, this is where you need a DQ. Mm-hmm. It's worked. It furthered the story, gets you to the setup for the tag team. Yeah, Omos. I mean, he's in there. He's in his lane. He looks good at what he does do. They haven't asked him to do anything where he's been exploited. And then he lays a nice ass kicking on Orton post match. I'm glad they didn't do the exploding barricade collapses. They just let him just with one arm, Omos, just throw Randy over top it into the crowd, and it looked like, all right, we're giving him the ass kicking that's gonna let Randy appreciate Riddle coming out here. Riddle's superhero save, no pun to Nikki ASH, but like Riddle comes out there and he ducks Styles, he comes through and he gets it was a moment. It felt good, and I agree, Jack. I understand them ending with Goldberg Lashley because that's your title. That's your world title on this show, but I agree kind of in terms of if you want to go off the air with like really who the fans are really invested in. I'm going to go back to what I used as an example in the first few weeks when this started months ago. This is Team Hell No territory. Fans are buying into this oddball couple. It works.
Yeah, the odd couple storyline, if you get the right talents involved, it can work, and they just kind of struck gold with this because I feel like they really pull it off really well.
Well, looking at it too, it doesn't shock me that you have these two teams that are working well together, and you have two veterans like Randy Orton and AJ Styles paired with the younger guys who are also doing great, and it clicking as opposed to two older guys or two younger guys or whatever the case may be. Like, it feels like this just makes sense even on paper. Like, this is going to work, and it's working, and they're doing everything right. And
yeah,
this is my favorite thing by far on Raw right now. And I feel like that's kind of what everyone's saying. Some people aren't saying this about Jeff Hardy and Karrion Kross, though. Hardy has a promo that ends with him getting attacked, and then he gets choked out pretty quick. I feel like this is how they should have started Karrion Kross. This should have been day one. It eventually happened. Raj, any thoughts on this one? Do you think that this means something good for Karrion Kross, or is it just a 1 week thing like most of the stuff so far?
It feels like a 1 week thing, and also I think it's impossible to say, but it feels like the way they booked him has hurt him because like the crowd does not respond to Kross at all. And I think, granted, a lot of them don't know what NXT is, but if you gave him a big win that first week and just made him look dominant, I think there would be more of a response to him than what you're getting right now, which is just apathy. Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad Kross won, but so much before him winning again is so head-scratching. So he sneak attacks Jeff Hardy backstage, which that's good. That's fine. If you're going to commit to him being a heel, that's fine. It's a heel thing to do. But he sneak attacks Jeff Hardy, and then he makes his entrance. We end up interrupting half the entrance to go to a wide shot to tease to commercial break. So one of the things that's special about Kross's entrance, well, obviously Vince and them don't think so because they just completely ignored his entrance. We go to a 3-minute plus commercial break, come back, show a recap video of him doing the sneak attack. So all this time that's going by is making the very fabric of why you would sneak attack the guy right behind the curtain. You ruin it. The whole point is like the guy's getting ready to go to the ring and you attack him. Well, the guy just had 5 minutes to recover. He's fine. Like it killed the momentum of what it should have had. Like again, on paper, yeah, sneak attack and then win. That's good for Kross, but the way they executed and the way they actually formatted the television portion of the show made no effing sense at all.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of commercials this week, like more than normal. It felt like they were interrupting everything for a commercial. I felt like every entrance had a commercial break. Every match had a commercial break.
It's the same format. They do 5 breaks an hour. They did the same thing, but you're right, Jack. They positioned and actually here's the irony to it. If you talk to WWE production people, the irony to it is they're increasing they're rearranging the format. They're increasing the breaks they take when the first person makes the entrance. They're going to break there. That's actually in their minds, WWE's minds, whoever they take the break when the entrance happens, that's actually them saying we think this person's going to hold the audience. Now for Kross, it might have not been we think Kross is going to hold the audience. We think the teasing that Jeff Hardy's going to come and get redemption is what's going to hold the audience because Jeff's the babyface. But when a guy comes out and they cut to break, a guy or girl comes out and they cut to break, that's them saying we think they can hold the audience. They used to do that with Daniel Bryan constantly because they knew Daniel Bryan would keep people to the next segment.
Yeah, if you guys go to a TV taping, because I don't remember them doing this back in the Attitude Era, but now when they have someone making the entrance and then they cut to a commercial, they just have the person standing in the ring. They shut off the music. They'll put a video on the screen, but you just have the wrestler just standing in the ring there, for minutes on end. It's weird. They used to not do that, and it seems like a newer thing, like in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it seems like it just kind of, Justin, to your point, it feels like it kills the momentum so often. I know you got to pay bills. I'm not faulting people for playing commercials. It just, I don't know. It seems like sometimes they could give it a little bit of a break or do something, because it makes it feel hard to feel like you get the momentum going when that happens. Because, yeah, it feels like he should have attacked Jeff Hardy and then practically drug him out to the ring and thrown him in and then said ring the bell or whatever. But it is what it is. Yeah. So, Reggie showed us his old place where he used to play tag, and that's why he's so good at holding on to the 24/7 title. Did some really cool flips, by the way. I felt like it almost wasn't even fair to him, the kind of things he did, that because he was doing such cool stuff for something that felt so inconsequential. But he didn't get pinned. Raj, are you still a fan of Reggie as the 24/7 champ?
I still am. I'm all in on Reggie. He does cool stuff. The 24/7 stuff, it can sometimes feel like it's really run its course, but I feel like it's gotten a little revitalized with Reggie. And, so some of the stuff with R-Truth and Tozawa, I wish they'd kind of mix it up a little more instead of just doing the same people every week. But I thought the segment was entertaining.
I'm stunned. It has been 2 full years now.
Oh, yeah.
It was 2 years ago, 2 years and I think 2 months, that the 24/7 title was created. It was one of those, I think, Raj, correct me if I'm wrong, it was one of those like collaboration / mandates with USA Network of like, we got to do things to like, it was at the same time when they tried to like change the graphics and look of the third hour, and everything went to, they were trying everything they could because they couldn't grasp that they were losing the audience the way they were. We thought this 24/7 title, this is going to be one of these things that's going to like keep people on the toes for the nonstop conga line that is chasing down this champion. And I was like, I remember thinking, this thing, it started in summer of 2019. I'm like, this thing's not going to make Survivor Series. And here the F we are is still here. I cannot believe it.
Yeah, it's insane, especially considering, like to your point, the third hour they had Raw Dark. Remember that?
Yeah.
And that lasted, I think, a week. Then
2
they had
weeks.
that, 2 weeks. Then they had the electric chair segment that lasted one show where Sami's in.
Yeah. What did somebody in the crowd ask? Somebody asked something that was not supposed to be asked.
Yeah, I mean, they were just asking stupid stuff, and I know Sami Zayn mentioned AEW, and I feel like that kind of killed it. But, I'm shocked that it's still around. Raw Underground, when they were doing that, I remember I was like, this is gonna probably last like 3 or 4 weeks, and it didn't last much longer than that. Retribution, kind of same thing. I was like, it won't be here this time next year. But this has stood.
Add in Verk. Not going to last.
Yeah.
What else? What else was a 2-pump chump in the booking of WWE decision making?
Right.
How much time do you have? I'm shocked it's still around, but I do love Reggie. I thought that flip over the car was incredible.
That was awesome.
I thought put that early on. Like, that's what you want people to see at the beginning. Because if you, again, that's one of those things where if you know nothing about wrestling, the other stuff's kind of silly, but a dude doing that, like, I guess, handstand flip thing over the car, like, I think anyone would go, oh, wow, that's incredible. But I don't know. I'd like to see him have matches for it instead of just.
Yeah, and also because his flips and everything are so unique, I wouldn't have him on every week either. Because, you don't want that to start getting old, or you've seen it all. It just means more when he's on. So
yeah,
that was cool.
We got another promo from Elias, or a video package, and now he's putting up a tombstone that says Elias on it. Elias is dead. Do you guys think that this is hinting at anything? And Justin, we'll start with you. Do you think that this tombstone stuff, the burn in the guitar, is it specifically hinting at something, or is it just them saying he's not going to have the guitar anymore still? Like, is he going to have like an Undertaker gimmick? I joked about that last week, but like, is this actually like an actual hint, or is this just, we're doing this until he re-debuts?
Well, no, I mean it's symbolism that we are retiring the name Elias. We're retiring the notion that he is going to play guitar and do that stuff. So it's definitely a repackaging of him. I mean, which it's interesting because when the Elias character started, when he was Elias Sampson, and he started as the Drifter. He started as a guy who was just this had no home kind of thing. Through Dusty Rhodes actually. Through Dusty getting to know the actual real guy and finding out that the real guy behind the deal was liked to play guitar and everything. That's what created the Elias character we come to know. And it's funny because that Elias character, like again, while he never won titles or anything, he got like some crazy Mania moments and moments of legends, Taker, Cena. So the fact that they're just going to pull the plug on this, I don't know. I mean, I'm hopeful that for them to go through all this production to do this, that they have something fresh, something new. But it's very easy to get discouraged.
Remember, oh gosh, I mean, there's so many examples. Mojo Rawley when he had his face painted. I mean, there's all these examples where it seems like they've got something and they know where they're going, but it's clear that they don't. I hope that's not the case here. But yeah, it sounds like a name change, everything. So,
the only thing I can, again, I think I mentioned this before. He was here and it fits so well because even more so the Elias thing works because again the guy likes to play guitar and likes to play music. So the fact they let him like create songs and he did a Bourbon Street concert in New Orleans a few years ago, and so that's cool. I mean, he was rock and roll Jesus Logan Shulo when he was on the Indies. That actually truly fit the most his real persona, and it was a persona that like I watched. You could get kids and people behind because of his look, the rock and roll Jesus, and like the energy. But I don't want to be naive to think they're actually going to pull back from anything that he ever once did prior to WWE because they're always very much about it's got to be a WWE creation. So unless he's able to get a pitch across to them and he can get it past somebody, I fear for what could be ahead.
All right. Do you think Rick Boogs is Boogs, right? Do you think him being on the roster probably sped this up? Because I could easily see Vince being like, "Oh, we can't have two musicians."
Yep.
And then King Rail in the chat says COVID killed Elias. Well,
man, he was. Now that crowds are back, that's when I think of some of the more over acts over the past few years. Elias was one of them. Like he just getting that heat from the crowd. Otis. Last year when he was like super hot, and they kind of just never.
As a guy from the Evergreen State, when he made fun of the Sonics leaving, and the whole stadium getting mad, I remember I was just as mad. I was like, how dare you? But Andrew Tom in the chat says, is there any remote possibility of All Out being moved to Jacksonville because of Delta? I have no idea.
I don't think so. What is that? 3 weeks from now, or a little under 3 weeks? I could see the mask thing, like the mask mandate inside, but
Again, not to get like into like there's vaccines out there, so the most I think it's going to happen is like arenas will say like you need to show proof of vaccine or you need to wear a mask, but like I don't see WWE or AEW retreating back to residency to Daly's Place or Thunderdome. Like as long the vaccines are there, and it's always just going to be you got to either be vaccinated or wear a mask. I just don't see them coming back off the road. Yeah,
or the NFL or any of these sports teams. I think, I could see the mask thing becoming a more of a requirement, especially this fall. But I don't see us going back to lockdown like we were before, because again, to Justin's point, we do have the vaccines. And so, if we do, then how do we ever get out of this? Then, if that's so, who knows?
Right. Yeah, I can't imagine at this point. But Jack says, "Yo, we grown men now hating the magic, the corny stuff. Back in the early '90s, as a 10-year-old kid, I soaked it up. They have to reach out to the kiddos also."
Well, it depends. If you do it well, it can be cool. But if it's done, if you have a doll winking, that's not, that's not so much.
Yeah, that's my thing. Like I like I love the Undertaker, I love Kane, I love that stuff, but it's the like taking control of someone's mind in the middle of the match and stuff. I don't know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and Jax, I love you, buddy, but if I was probably younger than 10, but if I'm a kid watching this, if I'm like 6 years old, because actually it's funny, I have a 6-year-old daughter. She actually was in the room a few weeks ago. She came down to sit with me while I was watching Raw. She's on her iPad. I thought she was not paying attention. Of course, she looks up and pays attention when the Lily doll does something crazy, and she's like it's all pretend, whatever. And I start to think to myself, if I'm 6 years old and I see this, and then I go to my room and my big boss man wrestling buddy doll that I used to body slam with when I was 6 years old, I don't know, I'm pretty freaking scared now that I just saw some doll on TV winking. A big boss man's gonna, hit me with his nightstick now. I don't know if it really connects to the young kids the way that you're trying to pitch it.
Hey man, Papa Shango was when I was a kid, and when he had the Ultimate Warrior puking, I thought it was dumb as hell.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
like the gimmick. I thought it was a cool idea. I think they should have made it a little more sinister, like make the paint maybe a little more evil. But I like the idea. But once they did the voodoo stuff, then I thought it was corny.
How about Raj? You probably heard this because he talked about it recently. Godfather did about how he was so close to coming back as Papa Shango in the Attitude Era, and then they pivoted and made him part of the Nation. Imagine Papa Shango in the Attitude Era.
That could have been cool. Yeah,
he would have given somebody like AIDS or something. Like the Attitude Era, Vince Russo would have booked like the craziest shit possible.
Yeah.
Val Venus would have certainly got an STD. Absolutely.
For sure.
He probably did. Probably didn't need Papa Shango for that. I will say, if I could get a big boss man doll that winks, I would be all on board for that. But Andrew Tom says, thanks, just bought my tickets. There was a lot of memos about it being refunded if canceled and stuff like that.
Well, I think you do gotta have, contingency plans, especially if you're AEW, WWE. But right now, and like Chris went, he's saying Korn has rescheduled dates already this week, but most of those are at the artist's discretion. And I don't see WWE or AEW choosing to not go forward.
I think also because once they cancel an event, then that sets a precedent. And then, like, when do they come back again? And it becomes pretty tricky from there. Sam Austin with the chat says, Rowan's cage / spider, gone but never forgotten.
Right.
That was before I was on the show. If you wanted to hear a Negative Jack was all about that spider.
and dude, Jack,
I was so frustrated when he pulled out that spider. I flipped the table. I was like, what is this?
Jack, and when that was going on, I had a list of a few people that were at TV every week that I would text every week for the sole subject line of, give me the latest of what you heard of what might be in the cage. Because yes, when it started, they did not know. And this was during the Heyman briefly ran Heyman time of Raw. The things that I would get told back to me of what they heard second and third hand through, from Rowan and trickle down, or from creative and trickle down of like what might be in the damn cage. I was like, this is a book in and of itself of WWE, and at that time I guess it was 2019 going into 2020. Like unbelievable that they spent that much time into something that had no concrete payoff.
That's just
it sucked. That was really bad.
Brian out in the chat says, hey guys, please let the Alexa Bliss gimmick go. Why too long? Shake my head. I feel like they had something with the Fiend and it's not working, but they don't want to just give up on it, is what's happening right now.
I think since Undertaker retired, Vince just wants to find a way to still use his special effects and magic and doesn't want to let that aspect go.
Van Dam Pick a Hand says, oh my God, AIDS from Shanko. The ultimate heel and no kick out finisher. Brutal. LaBar takes over the Wrestling Inc. podcast. P.S. Love Shango.
Just to be clear, I'm not saying that Papa Shango had AIDS and I'm just saying that through the voodoo, he was able to
project it.
He's saying, yeah, well, they were doing crazy stuff back then, and what they would have done with that gimmick.
Yes, and by the way, before anybody runs with this, I'm not trying to make light of AIDS. I'm just saying the ridiculousness of the Attitude Era decision making of how far they would go, and then the magical how far you can go with Papa Shango based upon what we saw 10 years earlier. So please don't come at me with I find AIDS funny. That's just I want to put that out there.
Of course not.
Right. We had Charlotte and team up with Nia Jax and Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH. This felt like the most random thrown together thing in the world to me. I don't know why. I mean, on paper, Charlotte and Nia Jax makes sense as a tag team, but the whole time I was like, what about Baszler? And then I guess Baszler shows up, but then Nia Jax gets set for the win, but then Charlotte tags in, and this felt it felt like they just needed to find something here, but I didn't
more bad booking. None of the decision making. So Charlotte, she pinned Rhea, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Like this. This nothing about anything they did tonight makes sense. Nobody got over in the women's title picture. This I go back to what I said earlier. It sucks.
Yeah, any momentum Rhea might have gotten from beating Nikki, they just immediately beat her on the same episode. Again, momentum is a real thing, and when you're doing 50-50 booking, especially on the same episode, it just no one gets momentum.
It feels very much like, who cares? Everyone here is a loser. Every one of them has been losing.
Except for Charlotte.
She's been sitting out, but she did lose her last match, didn't she? Well, not the tag team, but she lost to Nikki.
She lost to Nikki, but she kind of beat herself in that. Outside of that, she's better protected.
Yeah, Van Dam Picahan says, "Love you, LaBar, not Heat. Love all of you." Well, thank you, Van Dam.
Thanks.
No, I know Van Dam Picahan. I know you're fine, but there's going to be, out of the thousands and thousands of listeners, I'm sure somebody's going to take. So I just wanted to clarify.
And Brian Outen says, lately, guys, Nia Jax was great. Why isn't she given a single title shot? Just asking. Well, she's been tied up with tag team stuff, but her coming out to help out Charlotte made me realize, wow, they've just kind of dropped off what they're doing with Baszler and Nia Jax. I felt like they just went, oh yeah, they were doing something, weren't they?
Yeah.
We get a promo from AJ backstage, who thinks that Orton will be sick of Riddle by Saturday, which I feel like makes sense, but it also, we kind of missed the boat on the opportunity to build whether or not he's going to get sick of Riddle by then. But the big story, we end the show with Goldberg. He wants to show his son who he is, not who he was. Lashley says it's his house, the Almighty's house, and Goldberg says BS and spears Lashley as they walk up the ramp together, or as Lashley or Goldberg and his son walk up the ramp together before the show, or before to close the show. Justin, does this get you hyped up to see these two guys go at it? No,
I mean, there's nothing. I mean, I'm interested in the match for all the critiquing I do of Goldberg, and he does still. I mean, if you watch his entrance, people have the phones out. There is a reaction. So while I think that he's occupying a spot that could be better used for other people, I still understand why. To fill in more, Jack, what you said, I mean, he's got a son, and half the son's football team is there in the front row, and I don't know. I don't know what to expect out of this. I don't expect a long match. I don't think I expect Goldberg to walk away as champion. I don't know. All I can think to is he's noting his son who plays football, and the high school football team's there, and all I can think is like, all right, Goldberg Page with these nice uniforms they all have on, and I'm like, this poor kid, this Gage Goldberg, 15, 16 years old. He's getting his opponents are talking shit on the football field to him, like, like they're, I don't know what position he plays. They're either tackling him, trying to emulate his dad, or they're saying, "Oh, how tough are you?" Like, All I can say is this kid's getting some 15 minutes of fame. He's probably got high school girls sliding into his DMs, but I'm like, man, he's probably gonna having to deal with a lot of chirping going on in the high school football field with the fellow teenagers, having this kind of notoriety right now. But I don't know. I'm interested in the SummerSlam match, but this did not do the go home service that it was probably supposed to for me.
Yeah, it felt very paint by the numbers. This is the same thing you do all the time. But at the same time, I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was fine for what it was. It didn't necessarily make me excited for the match, but Goldberg's Goldberg, and he got a great reaction. The crowd was into him, and I think Lashley beats him pretty quick, and I don't know, maybe have Big E cash in. That seems like it would be a cool spot to do it.
You think Lashley beats Goldberg quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah, since Goldberg, I mean, this is his second match this year. He's contracted for 2 matches a year, so this would be pretty much it, unless they, extend his deal or whatever. But yeah.
Has he won the WWE title, or was it always Universal?
Wasn't Brock? That was
Universal.
That was Universal. You're right, and Bray was Universal as well, right?
Yeah, because Goldberg's always been on Raw, and up until recently, it was always the Universal was the red belt on Raw,
right?
Before it got moved over.
Yeah, so he had the WWE Championship before, but or did he? Or was it the World Heavyweight title? It was really confusing.
I think it was World Heavyweight. I don't think it was WWE.
It was the WCW,
right?
Carry
the big gold belt.
Yeah.
So hey, maybe he could finally win the big one. Finally, Goldberg could get a big win.
I mean, the big thing, like Lashley should retain, because again, Lashley should retain because there's the 2 factors out there that I look at are you have Big E with Money in the Bank, so that would be interesting, and you have Brock Lesnar. Whenever you're ready to sign the check for him to come back, you have the Brock versus Lashley match that we've never got. So, this is the most credible Lashley's ever been. So, I just can't see a reason of how you'd have Goldberg walk out of SummerSlam as champion. I can't, like Raj said, he's already done his obligations for the year. Unless they can, compact the contract and say, we're going to take one of the 2 matches you're supposed to do in 22 and we're going to have it come in 21. I don't know.
Right.
But what's the point? I don't know. It's just...
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I love Goldberg, and I'm going to be excited if and when he wins. I don't care how old he gets. I'm always going to be all in on Goldberg. So I'm going to be cheering. I'm going to Goldberg at my house. Brian says, oh, no, that was, I think, what he asked that before. Nia Jax was great. Yeah. Sam Austin says, Raj, do you think they shut off Goldberg's music during the ad break or kept it going? That would be 8+ minutes of solid Goldberg chant.
Yeah, I think they shut it off.
They definitely did. They show they show a couple in-house PR videos.
Right.
Probably a Goldberg PR video to get him chanting again or something. But Kayla Mick says, does Big E still have the briefcase, or will they do a Miz deal with Corbin?
He does still have the briefcase, and I don't see them doing that. I think they mean the Miz deal with Otis, right?
Yeah, where he took the briefcase from him.
Yeah.
And the other thing to think about is that this match is not going to be last. You got to figure last match is Cena Reigns, right?
100%.
So you have to factor that in of you want your ending to be suffice of an ending. Who knows? Lashley Goldberg could be the first match. We've seen them put world title when in the day of WWE having 2 world titles. They put 1 world title first. So this could be early on the card. So
I bet it is.
Yeah, Brock versus Seth opens that WrestleMania. Yeah. So
you have to take that into factor too of whatever ends this match is something that they have to then allow to be followed up by another 3 hours worth of stuff.
Right. And Cena versus Reigns is going on last.
Yeah, that's got to be the ending. Yeah. Speaking of ending, real quick, let's run through the card. Let's talk about SummerSlam. Universal Championship, Roman Reigns versus John Cena. Who do you guys have?
Reigns.
Yeah, Reigns.
Cena does have a few dates after that, so they could always do a surprise ending, but I don't see it. They've done such a great job with not beating Reigns, so when he finally does get beat, it should be under the right circumstances.
they are building to Reigns, Rock, so Reigns cannot lose this.
But Reigns will beat The Rock too.
Reigns is going to have that title forever.
Well, for nothing less, I mean, obviously, Rock's going to want to put, in real life shoot talk. He's going to want to put over his family, but also, I mean, the Rock can't stay there long enough to even hold that title anymore. He's just too too much of a Hollywood nomad.
Yeah. But then we've got Raw Women's Championship: Nikki ASH for Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley.
Charlotte.
Oh.
Charlotte.
I'm gonna go Charlotte. I think Charlotte's gonna
Nikki.
win.
She lost twice tonight.
Maybe that was the plan, but I'm going to say with what's transpired that Rick decided to peace out, I'm going to say that they're going to start this. We talk about reactionary to CM Punk. I'm going to say reactionary at Vince's call is let's get the title back on Charlotte. And I don't know where that puts her now at the title reigns. I know she's got a lot of them, but I'm going to say this is reactionary. Let's get the title back on Charlotte.
Yeah, I think they were saying she's at 11 now. Like they took out the NXT ones, which Jack had noticed a few weeks ago.
So, yeah, I think we'll see. But WWE Championship, Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg. I'm going to say Bobby Lashley if I'm predicting.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I mean, again, the Big E thing's there, but again, if you do the Big E thing, it has to end the show. It gets buried. It's buried if it's not the ending. So I'm going to say just Lashley.
It feels like Big E. It feels like Big E also being like. I think everyone wants to see him face Reigns. Not. I don't know.
Yeah. I would love Lashley retains, adds even more credibility. Because look, I don't know about you guys. I don't think I did predictions with either of you for WrestleMania, but I thought for sure Lashley's going to lose to McIntyre at this WrestleMania in front of fans, and he retains. So it's kind of like let him retain again. It's one more thing on the resume. And then you want to make a big pop for the next night at Raw, or I guess 2 nights later in Raw, then have Lesnar show up and have the Lesnar-Lashley showdown. I think that to me, that would be the most interesting thing for the title picture.
I'd love that. SmackDown Women's Championship, Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks.
That's a tough one. Assuming it happens, I think Bianca.
I think Bianca too.
I would agree, but I don't think it's going to happen.
How about Edge versus Seth Rollins?
I'm going to go Edge. I think he needs a big win.
Yeah, Edge.
Yeah, he needs to win. If he loses again, then he's going to be like, I don't care about what he does. Has he won a big match?
I mean, it's last year with Orton. I don't think like this year. I mean, he beat Orton on Raw one night, but that's about it.
That was a year ago. That feels like now I'm thinking about their last man standing match, and I'm like, geez, that feels like it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, he did beat one of the Usos too, but as far as a big pay-per-view match, he hasn't.
Yeah, Edge.
SmackDown Tag Team Championship: the Usos versus the Mysterios.
I'm gonna say the Mysterios, because I could see that being like, while the Usos and the Roman Reigns thing's got to stay strong, and again, if we're building to the Rock, I could see them getting some mileage. I mean, obviously, Ray has some leverage in the booking of like, get my kid over and get him involved, and so I could see that being something. Like, I mean, they were teaming with Cena at house shows, so I could see them giving them the tag titles.
Yeah, I'll go with Mysterios too. Plus, the Mysterios lost at the last pay-per-view, so I could see them getting the win at this one.
Yeah, I go Mysterios too. I think that's just more interesting, and there's more ways they can go with it. Because if they lose, like, what do they do? Like, it's kind of done. United States Championship: Sheamus versus Damian Priest. I go Damian Priest here. It feels like his time.
Priest.
Yeah, same here.
Drew McIntyre and his sword, or Jinder Mahal.
Drew's got to win.
Yeah, this feels like Drew's to win.
Yeah, I guess Drew. Again, I'll be
refilling. And his sword.
And his sword. All right, Manscaped.
Yeah, see, maybe Drew wouldn't be so crabby if he had a Manscaped instead of the sword. Raw Tag Team Championship: AJ Styles and Omos versus Randy Orton and Matt Riddle. This one's kind of interesting.
I think bro.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like You've gotten a lot out of AJ and Omos. Give it to RK Bro. They can run till. I mean, they could run them to Rumble if you really try to do it right. You can get to Rumble where they've just been great oddball friends. Every man for themselves. Start to hint at some problems. Build to Mania. Whatever. But yeah, I think they could do a lot. Especially that we're back to touring. Right. Those guys as tag champions, and you're going to have them on house shows. Randy tonight, if you called it, he looked over at Riddle off mic, obviously, and said, "I'm not effing doing that," meaning
right, the dance.
Riddle the dance. But I can see cameras are off, some house show stuff, and these guys are known to let their proverbial hair down in the house shows. I could see there being video surfacing, some cell phone video of Randy doing the Orton dance. I mean, these guys can have a lot of fun for the remainder of the calendar year, and you can get a lot out of this. So I'm going to definitely go with them.
Yeah, and almost definitely isn't taking the pin, but yeah, Orton probably pins AJ.
Yeah, I agree. I think RK Bro gets the win. Match of the night, though, Alexa Bliss versus Eva Marie.
I'm
going to go with Eva.
I could see Eva. I could actually see that.
There's so much investment and thought put towards her. Yeah, by hook or by crook, somehow she's gonna win.
You don't think Doudrop accidentally screws up and then Alexa gets the win because of that?
I think it's too quick for that. Eva needs some big time, high profile wins to keep that heat going right now.
I think the winner is the fans. This one's gonna be good.
What does Lily do? There's gonna be something stupid.
I think Lily's going to make Doudrop attack Eva Marie, and that's going to break them up or cause more friction between them. And then I see Finn Balor and Baron Corbin. Balor, I think.
Was that announced?
It says prediction as a predicted one.
Oh, yeah, I'd say Balor.
Yeah. And then Jose in the chat says Edge won the greatest wrestling match of all time. That's true. Right. I forgot about the greatest wrestling match of all time.
It was just a year ago.
That's where he got injured.
Right.
He got injured on a take that didn't even make it to air.
Right. Yeah.
That's like the Rock. That's like the Rock getting injured in a blooper. Right. And you can't do the next 3 movies.
Yeah, gosh, I tried to block that part of the year out last year. So,
if you told me that was 4 years ago, I would probably be like, "Yeah, that sounds about right."
Right. Yeah, it feels like way longer than last year for sure.
That's crazy. Wow. But that's the show. I hope someone in the chat was keeping track of all that so we can see who had the best predictions. But. That's it for us. Before we go into SummerSlam, any final thoughts heading into the big show of the summer?
It's going to be a hell of a week.
It's one of the biggest weeks in wrestling history, recent wrestling history. Yeah. It's
crazy that this is one of the biggest shows for WWE, but like AEW is bringing the heat too. And with all the talk and interest around NXT, I'm very interested to see how that looks this week as well. And you got TakeOver, which is going to be great.
I got to ask you guys, does it feel like this Sunday's NXT TakeOver is like a freaking funeral? It feels like this is like the end of this NXT thing we've had that we've all loved for the last 5 or 6 years. Based upon everything that we keep hearing, this feels like this is like the end.
There is kind of a morose feeling going into it.
Yeah. Roger said sorry.
What's that?
No. I was gonna say with everything happening, because Karrion Kross versus Samoa Joe should be one of the biggest matches in a very long time on NXT. But with everything happening on Raw,
and you have the Adam Cole situation. Cole's in a 2 out of 3 fall. What's Cole doing? And then it's just the whole thing. Like, I haven't got the email yet. I know Raj, you haven't. If I haven't, normally we'd be finding out in the next 24 hours. We'd be saying, hey, Triple H wants to do the media call. I'm really interested to see if he does one.
Yeah, I'm curious myself.
Because, A1 questions coming to him are questions I don't think he wants.
Right.
I'm a Triple H guy, but
Yeah.
I also can probably honestly say I don't blame him if he doesn't want to put himself on a live mic right now.
Oh, no. Yeah, but if he does do it, that's going to be one of the most interesting takeover calls he's ever done, hopefully.
That's what they should put on pay-per-view, is watching a takeover call with Triple H this week. But yeah, this one, there's just kind of I'm sure it'll be an exciting show because NXT always pulls it out, but there's like a stink to it for sure this time around.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be this will be a crazy week, guys. So stay with us. We're gonna have podcasts pretty much every night except for Thursday. So, yeah.
NXT tomorrow. You've got AEW on Wednesday. Thursday, I'm sure there's going to be some kind of news breaking coming out that you guys are going to be talking to. So you got to be following Wrestling Inc. Also, Friday, there's the two show. Well, there's Impact
one show.
Out a show.
What's that?
But I mean, there's SmackDown,
and
there's Rampage. Impact's doing a show. I don't know if that's getting covered. Probably not.
Yeah. So we're gonna have live coverage. We're not covering it on the podcast, but we will have live coverage of it on Wrestling Inc.
Oh, awesome! So really, geez, nonstop at Wrestling Inc. Because then you roll right into SummerSlam.
And Saturday.
Then
Sunday,
roll right into Takeover, and then it starts all over again on Raw.
Right.
So lots of stuff. Everyone, make sure you are following Wrestling Inc. on social media. Make sure you're following myself, Justin, and Raj on social media as well. Make sure you're buying your Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0. But that does it for us. And until tomorrow for the NXT show, we'll see you then.